Hi, my name is Trevor Swartz. I'm applying to be an IA for EECS 183 in the fall of 2018. Basically, I'm going to be reviewing classes, instances, difference between public functions, private variables, why we can't really mess with either one of them, and really what they are. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And firstly, I'm going to address this by talking about primitive types. We've been dealing with these so far all this semester. We got ints, which can be a number, bools, which are true or false, chars, floats, doubles, shorts. These are things that you can just declare. And but we need to declare more than just numbers and letters, right? If we need to represent a student, how are we going to do that with just numbers and letters? And you can imagine that the first thing you'd think of is if we wanted to represent a student by, say, UMID, year, major. We can do that, but like if we did this with arrays, we could have a UMID array, a year array, a major array, and each of these values are what's in the array. And if we wanted one student, we could call these like this to get one student's, all of his information. But we want more of a representation like this, where we can declare a student at place 0 and have this information all here. We can have the UMID, the year major, and then the UMID year major here for the next student, and we could just have it there. So and that just creates a more easily accessible item than just creating these three nasty arrays. It'd just be gross, right? So we've seen classes before, like with something like a string, right? String is just an array of characters, but this is a class. And we have to import that library each time because it is a class. So an instance of a string, right? I want to make this very clear that the class string is a generalization of everything that could be a string, but an instance of a string is a word, right? So this word, hello, is the instance of a string that's stored in Word. So I wrote some code up here, and let's just get rid of that. And I created a class called person, and we have the public functions. And if you follow this dashed line, it goes all the way down here until we get to the private variables. And the private variables are what we use to represent a class or a person, right? So like I had students before that I used to represent UMID, their year, and their major. I have these variables right here, which represent the age, the height in feet, the height in inches, and these are what we're going to use to define a person. And of course, there's more things to define a person, but just as I use these variables to define a student, right, I'm using these ones just to define a person. So if I want to create an instance of a person, let's say we create this instance Davey. If we just match it up with from here going right across, we have age 18, height in feet 5, 6 inches tall. The name is Davey, and the hair color is brown, right? And this person declaration, just as I could just do a string, and the instance Davey, so the class, just like a string, I just call person, which is the name of the class, Davey, which is the instance, and this goes right up here to our constructor, right? So what happens is the age comes in, the height and feet come in, the height and inches comes in, the name, the hair, and we set it all to our private variables of this person because we don't want anybody messing with these variables outside of the class. We don't need people touching Davey's age or controlling how his height and feet. We only want it being touched when he gets created. So now these variables are inside the instance Davey, and that's what defines this instance to be this person. So let's look at this example function. And I really urge everybody to look at the rest of this code. If you're confused at all, I'll include the code in the description. Please run through it. Take a guess at what you think what this code's going to do before you actually run it. Really try to drill it in so that you can understand before it actually runs what's going to happen. But let's look at this. Let's look at just one function, birthday, and set a breakpoint here, and this will be a good review for debugging. Start the debugger, and we'll create this instance Davey. And when we call this public function now has access to the private variables. So this Davey.birthday, we use this dot operator that we call. So we use Davey for the instance, and we use the dot operator to call a function on him, and that dot operator goes into the class that instance is associated with, and it goes to this birthday function here. And just as you'd imagine a birthday would happen, it increments this age by 1, says cout it's your birthday, and cout's you're this many years old now. So if we run this, and we did no output yet, the instruction pointer is right here. We have Davey, we have age, we have height and feet down here. And as you can imagine, if we step over this function, this age increments to 19, and the output, it's your birthday, you're 19 years old now, comes on the screen. So I hope this makes sense now, what the difference between classes and instances are, how we call these functions. Make sure it's more clear. Really look at this code, make sure you drill it, how these functions are working and interacting with the private variables. Thank you. I hope this all makes sense now.